welcome back to Hammers Academy. I'm your host, Henry Tomlinson, and today I'm joined by Scott and Lou. How are you guys doing, Scott?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Good early morning here in Australia.
And Lou, how are you doing?
Good, thank you. My microphone's working now, so we can get on with the show.
Perfect. And so today our main sort of area of the video is we're going to be answering a few questions, and we'll get straight off really. The first question is from JRS at Football for All, and he's very interested about like the youth development of West Ham by like his questions. The first question is we'll do it as like I'm going to say them all out and we'll do them all together. The first question is, do you think Moyes will give youth a chance and start developing players slowly into the first team? With Trott in our squad, do you think he stands a chance to get a go in goal? And Ashby has been in great form at right back and as a centre back. Do you think he should be given a go in our current back three system? Scott, I'll come to you first.
Okay, I think it's an interesting point. I mean, Moyes has tended to favour pragmatism whilst he's been at West Ham, but previously he's only been given short spells to really have an impact on the side, so that's made sense. I think with the size of the squad, I think it's pretty fair to say that we will at some point see these younger players coming in. West Ham always pick up injuries. Our training ground seems to be cursed, so I think we're going to have some occasions where you're going to see these players come in. I would like to see it as more of a proactive thing, but with the board sort of focusing on trying to ensure that we don't get relegated, I think we're going to see for the most part of the season a pragmatic approach, and Moyes won't change his lineup very much. Trott's only going to get a shout if Fabianski's out. Martin is the other keeper. I mean, he's not setting any. Oh, Randolph, yeah, of course, for all of that. So yeah, I don't see Trott coming in, really getting too many opportunities there. Then, otherwise there was no point bringing Randolph back for the time he's here. But yeah, I think Moyes will throughout the season, but I don't think it will be too proactive.
And Lou, do you think the Scottish manager is going to start blooding in the youth, or is he going to just sort of keep as he is at the moment until at least the FA Cup?
Yeah, I mean, we saw glimpses of it in the League Cup, obviously, until we got knocked out against Everton a few weeks ago. Kind of signs of it as well last season. Obviously, he played in Ngakia at right back before he sadly left to Watford, and Johnson kind of replaced him, but he's kind of left the squad now since Soufal's come in. I'd say he's third in the pecking order currently, behind Fredericks and Soufal. As for Ashby, it would be nice to see in just terms of developing talent, but it would be, I'd say, a little bit of a risk, just in terms of not his natural position, and then bringing him in a Premier League game where we've got Balbuena and Diop, and I guess now Craig Dawson ahead of him as well. I don't think we'll see that anytime soon, and like you say, I think he probably will wait for the FA Cup to try and experiment with those kind of things. But I don't think Moyes is completely adverse to it, and I think he would like to, but when the time's right.
Yeah, I think this is a season where at times we could see a lot of youth players be given a go, not because of like being proactive and putting them in, but probably more so because of like if the team has a COVID outbreak or reason, 5-6 players have to self-isolate. We saw in Italy like teams weren't allowed to sort of postpone the games and everything if they still had enough players registered. So I think we will see at times, I'm sure there's going to be some sort of COVID break at West Ham, as there already has been, and we will see the young players be given a chance to sort of step in. I think obviously X on the West Ham way has said there was an outbreak in the development side in one of their like houses, so they're sort of going through that at the moment. But yeah, in terms of like my opinion, I think we will see some of the youth players at the moment come through. I think Trott might be the most likely, along with Johnson. I think it'll be Trott or Johnson will be maybe the breakout stars, because I think Fabianski's looked a bit questionable, so maybe Moyes might want to give Trott a go because he had such a great loan last year. and Johnson could be the backup to Mazuraku as that left wing back, which we don't really have any depth in at the moment. So yeah, moving on to the next question from the Anvil at Anvil from. What system do you think Ben Rama works best in? He'd personally have him on the wing in a 5-4-1 or a 4-2-3-1. Scott, I'll come to you first. Where do you think Ben Rama will best fit in at West Ham?
I think he's going to fit more in a system where we're going to be focusing on attack, or at least he doesn't have to cover so much defensively. So the current shape could suit him, but the role that Fornals is playing on that left side is he really tucks in and acts as a sort of a wide central midfielder rather than a true attacking winger. And that's not going to be a like-for-like role replacement when he comes on. He's going to sit a little bit wider. He'll still allow Masuaku to be the width in the attack, but he's going to be looking to really try and attack the gap between the fullback and the centre-back quite often. So 4-2-3-1 would allow that quite well, but it's with our left backs, I don't trust them to marshal the left side on their own. This system does give them a decent amount of coverage, and I think Ben Rama will fit in against sides where we're more likely to hold the ball for longer. So when we come up to the slightly easier run of games, I'd like to see him starting instead of Fornals in that left side position and looking to cut in off that wing.
And Lou, what about you? What ideally would you like to see Ben Rama being played in?
I mean, predominantly for Brentford, they generally played 4 at the back, didn't they? So, and he played, I think, in a front 3 really, and he linked up well with, Watkins last season. So I like the idea eventually of Allaire coming into the team, and perhaps a bit of Ben Rama and Allaire chemistry, kind of similar to what we briefly saw in pre-season with Diangana and Allaire. But that's for the future. Antonio's, earned his place at the minute, so he's starting. To go with what Scott said, I guess against the lesser sides, I wouldn't I mean, I'd like to see Ben Rama come in, but I'd like to see Fornals stay as well. So maybe against the lesser sides, we could revert back to 4 at the back and bring Fornals more centrally. And quite frankly, the more players Ben Rama has to link up with, I think the better, because he's a brilliant team player who can also do it individually. And I think we've really got the potential for something exciting in attack. We're scoring lots of goals at the minute, don't get me wrong, but the overall play could improve, and I think Ben Rama could be key to that.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think we're doing very well going forward at the moment, and Ben Rama's almost got like a little spice on top, just to add it a bit of extra flavour on top of it. I think I'd like to see him in our current formation, but maybe on the attacking way of it, of the 3-4-3, and being that inside forward next to either Antonio or Haller, and then Byrne on the other side. And then if you take Antonio out and you put Haller in, it does become very similar to that system that he excelled so well in at Eintracht Frankfurt. And I think Ben Rama could be like the Jovic or Rebic that Haller was playing with then. And if we could get that working, then that would sort our attack out for the next 5 years, arguably, because of their ages, and they could really gel well and do really well. And then if you could find a way of putting Fornals into that system in the midfield somewhere, or coming on off the bench to help with the attack, you could have a really nice flowing, exciting proposition going forward, especially with Kufal, Fredericks, or Mazuraka on the left side. That's a really pacey, attacking, technique-rich attack. And yeah, so I think it'll be very exciting. So I think we're also saying Ben Rama fit best in just in his top role of being that sort of inside winger forward, potentially on the left of a front 3. I think we're in agreement with that.
Yep.
Yeah. And the final question from Mardy at Mardy Castle is: can you see Moyes having long-term success at West Ham? Lou, I'll come to you first on this one.
I mean, with the manager merry-go-round, as we see it today, managers get sacked off literally a poor run of form where it might not necessarily, carry on forever. But its owners are very reactionary these days, and in terms of that, it's difficult to see any manager really, unless you're completely successful like Klopp, or have the full trust in the board at Man United like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to be there long term. But I think if he is trusted and he is given, players to sign in the future, we didn't necessarily get it in the summer. I think he could build something. I think he could turn us into I guess it's easy to say, but Everton like Moyes' side, where they were consistently challenging in the top half of the table. And I guess in a sense that would be more of an achievement these days, but due to the overall quality of the league. We've got teams like Leicester and Wolves and Everton, challenging for those European spots, where I guess in those days they didn't really have that depth of quality in the league. So it was perhaps easier for Everton to reach higher up. But I think I have been critical of Moyes in the past, so it could be a bit hypocritical of me to praise him in a sense. But I admit I'm a very reactionary person myself when it comes to football. 1 week I love him, 1 week I hate him, man. That's just the way I am. But he's not that old as a manager. He's 57, so he's certainly got a few years left in him. And it will be interesting to see what happens if eventually one day we did get a buyer and we were doing well, whether that buyer would look to keep him and build, and progress as a club and let him do things the way he could potentially be doing, or whether they go out and get a star name, for example, which may not necessarily be the best thing to do. But I think he has the potential to be a long-term success, or at least mid to long-term success. Whether he will, though, it's just so hard to say in the current climate.
Scott, what would you say could make Moyes' time at West Ham a success? Like, what would be like? Of course, winning the Premier League 7 years running would be very successful. What would you say, like, the minimum he needs to do to be judged as a success going forward would be?
I mean, obviously, most fans would love to see a trophy. I think our last major or even semi-major trophy was back in 1980 with the FA Cup win. So it's a long time coming there. If we can get close, I think that's fair to say. I think if you can manage some cup runs with some consistency in the league, I think that for us really counts as a success. It's not really where we were promised to be by now, given the stadium move. I don't think that this club will have success until the board aren't the main factor in our transfers. I think we need to look at other clubs. There's not a successful club in Europe at the moment that doesn't have a separate transfer structure, a director of football or a director of recruitment that kind of instigates these kind of things, because the managers change. I think you're looking at an average tenure of about 2 years in the top couple of flights. That's not enough to instigate a transfer plan. So yeah, I think if you can get one of those in, a structure that will actually help build over the next 5 to 6 years, then you could be looking at Moyes setting us up for success, potentially, because he is a consistent manager. Is he exciting? No, he's not going to come up with a way of playing or anything like that. He's not going to try something. But then, do we want that right now? And we probably want some solidity moving forward, especially this year, which is going to be a strange year all round football-wise. Just avoid relegation and see where we are.
Yeah, I think
so.
Yeah.
So I was just to say, I think Moyes has got a tough job to be considered successful. It depends what your standards are, but I think he's consistent enough to deliver what we need right now.
Yeah, I think I agree in terms of like how would you judge a long-term success of David Moyes would be if he's given a new deal at the end of the season and he just makes us steady and comfortable in the league rather than every other year or every year it seems at the moment at some point fighting a relegation battle. We've only had one of them one season outside of that sort of conversation since we moved to the London Stadium, and that was the Pellegrini's first season. I mean, even the start of that, everyone thought we're going to go down because we lost the first four. So I think if Moyes does get a new contract at the end of the season, which I think he probably will at the current moment. I mean, ask me on Saturday afternoon after City have drummed us 5-0, and then I'll say no, he should go at the end of the year. But I do think he'll get a new contract, and I think as long as he makes us steady in the Premier League, then I think that's all you can be judged for. Is that would be success at West Ham at the moment because of how poor it has been in recent years. If we just become stable, that is a success. I think back to sort of 10 years ago or so, maybe longer, when you had Aston Villa doing their occasional challenge, but they always just seemed rock solid in the Premier League of just like 10th. That sort of time, like before Blackburn got relegated after they won their title, and the sort of decline maybe started, but they had an 8-year period where they just came either 8th or 12th or between there, and that was it. That's sort of what we need for the next 5 years of just being in that area. You're never going to get relegated, maybe get a cup run every now and again, but just sort of maybe become a bit boring, and that would almost be successful for us because too much goes on at West Ham to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just have a couple quiet years, that to me would be a success. But yeah, so that'll be it for the rest of the video from us at the Hammers Academy. Thank you very much for joining me, Scott and Lou.
No problem.
Cool.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, please make sure to like and subscribe to the Hammers Academy and like the video, share it with all your friends. For now, come on, you irons.